if you're signing on and you're wondering where Mr. Clay is, he will be here right around 7 o'clock. But we're going to give you as much information as we possibly can tonight and hope that we can all learn collaboratively. And remember, we're all volunteers except for Mr. Clay, and he'll be here at 7. But the rest of us, we're all volunteers and we're all learning and working together to figure this all out.
I'm going to shout out, I'm going to put our link in the chat for PTSA. If you have a student that needs volunteer hours, we've been adding a ton of options. We have collaborated with the Gandy Civic Center, so there's one this weekend, next week, all the time. Please share that link with them and let them know that we're always adding any opportunity we possibly can to get them the hours they need. And yes, Deb, I also in that link, you'll see the nominations form. We are looking for a few good men and women to join us next year. If you feel like you have what it takes to join our team, please sign up. We'd love to have
Even if you feel like they have what it takes to join our CUBE team?
No, our PTSD team.
Oh,
both. You can do both.
Well, you do.
There's going to be a lot of shameless shout outs and asked for recruitment and help. I was going to say to join our team.
We love volunteers.
Yes,
We love
if we have what it takes, if you have a pulse, you have what it takes. We will train you, we promise.
We'll train you, yeah. You know, Anne is an amazing patient trainer. She puts up with us.
Yes, indeedy.
Yeah.
Well, Amy Marie, you tell me when you're ready to get started.
All right, let's get started, guys. My name is Amy Marie Granger-Welch. I am the Robinson High School PTSA president for this year, at least for a couple more months.
And another year.
And hopefully I'll get nominated and voted in again. I would love to have that honor, but if somebody else really wants the job, I'm more than willing to just support. Michelle's like, yes, I want to be president. Anyway, so we brought this to you. We really felt like this was great information and we really wanted to share. So I'm going to hand this off to Michelle and Anne and Sherry, who are the experts on the CUBE. I'm just the experts on the tech. So here we are.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our collaboration tonight. And as I mentioned before, please sign your student's name into the chat. We're going to be giving away a couple of gift cards and Starbucks cups with Rice Krispie treats on the inside. And we're just happy and thankful that people are here tonight. We're all volunteers. Mr. Clay, who is not a volunteer, he is a college and career counselor. He will be here at 7 o'clock, but the rest of us are all volunteers working together and working with you so that we can provide what we need for our students. My name is Michelle Blaylock and I'm a member of the CUBE. This is actually my 3rd year in the CUBE. I started volunteering in the CUBE my freshman year, and it has been an amazing opportunity to really get a wealth of information in addition to being able to, I feel like I've been mentored by the 2 women I'm about to introduce now. Ann Eason, I call her all the answers Ann, and Sherry Greenberg. They've been with me at the CUBE since the very beginning. Ann actually invented the CUBE a few years ago. And Sherry's been that 1 year ahead of me. And it's just been so exciting and such a good way to learn and prepare for what we're all going to eventually have to go through, more than likely, which is helping to get our children into college. So Ann, I want to turn it over to you. I got to ask you this quick question though, because I know people are wondering, because the CUBE is not an acronym. So where did the name even come from?
Great question. So if you look at the first letter of College Career Center, you get 3 C's. So you have C, so you've got C cubed. So we just called it the CUBE. It's a mathematical, it's a nerdy, very nerdy sort of reason. Interestingly, it's really odd because there is another CUBE in Nevada that is also a college and career center. So I'm not sure if they also use the same logic to get to the word CUBE.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a much better explanation. I've always said because we're in the library in the shape of a room. That's like a cube.
The room is very cube-like, you're right.
Well, and Sherry, thank you again for joining us too. Do you want to say a couple words before we jump right into all of this?
I am going to well, welcome everybody. Thank you for attending. This seems like an awesome group. There's a lot of people signed up, so that's fantastic. And I'm going to let Michelle and Ann take it away.
All righty. Well, before we start talking about specific things, I'm really, really partial to any seniors, whether they're senior parents, parents with seniors, or 12th graders who are on the call right now. If you have any questions specific to you, this is your moment, because it is definitely crunch time. So if you want to come off mute, turn your video camera on, I'm going to give you a couple of seconds. Feel free to jump in right now with whatever question you may have, because honestly, it is about you guys tonight and making sure that you get things done that you need to get done. It's never too late. We can always help. And I don't quite see anyone jumping in yet. I'm gonna speak now or forever hold your peace if you have any immediate questions. If not, then I will jump right into what I was talking about. And it's never too late. We can all still, any senior that's out there right now, still has several different opportunities and ways that they can apply to college, right?
Absolutely. So seniors, I know nobody's speaking up, but I'm going to give it about a minute of explanation. Seniors at this point, most seniors who were thinking about going to college have applied at least one place. A lot of the applications that had deadlines were due in, early ones were due in October and November and December, and then regular decision ones were often due in January. But interestingly, there are colleges that are called rolling admissions. So students who did not get a chance to apply until right now, they still can apply to a huge number of colleges that have rolling admissions. On the negative side, sometimes these colleges have already filled their classes, but they will still look at the application. And they do have wait lists. And then later there may be openings after May 1st is the general deadline for when students let colleges know whether they're going to be coming or not. So in May, there's a whole new list of colleges that have openings. And we can, put that out through PTSA in case there are seniors that still are looking for a spot. So there's lots and lots of flexibility about timing when seniors are looking to apply, and it's not too late even right now in March. You're muted, Michelle.
That happened. Great time to mention too, we just got a question asking what grade point average do they need to go to college? And if you're a senior, then you're kind of have your grade point average. So whatever it is, it kind of is right about now, but there's still good news, Ann, because HCC, what are just the basic requirements to go to HCC, which is an amazing school, no matter where you're at in your educational level?
Yes, HCC is one of 28 state colleges. They used to be called community colleges, but now they're just called state colleges. And all of the 28 state colleges accept 100% of students who graduate from high school. So the GPA does not matter if you're going to a state college, as long as your GPA allows you to graduate from high school. And that is a 2.0. So you need to have a 2.0 in order to graduate from Robinson High School. And once you have that, you can apply to any of the 28 state colleges or any of the technical colleges, and you're good.
See, I think that's so great to hear. And once again, I'm going to keep shouting this out to seniors. If you join us, if you have any questions, jump off mute, ask your question. If not, we're going to kind of keep talking through this. And since we've opened it up to seniors several times now, if there are any parents, this is going to be a conversation. It's not just us just kind of telling you stuff. Whatever questions you may have, either put them in the chat or feel free to come off mute and turn on your video camera and we can go through your questions. But Ann, you just mentioned something briefly that I want to touch on. You mentioned the technical colleges. So what's the difference when you have a community college, a technical college? I know we have public colleges, private colleges, but what is a technical college?
Technical colleges are, in Hillsborough County, there are 4 technical colleges. The biggest one is called Irwin Tech. And they have, I'm thinking somewhere in the 25 they've got about 25 different programs that are, it's called Career in a Year. So they've got certification programs. Some of these certification programs are as short as 6 weeks. Some of them are 4 months. Some of them are 18 months. So it's a way for a student to get further education and emerge with a certificate, like, for example, in becoming a practical nurse, and becoming a massage therapist, and becoming a dental hygienist, becoming a medical coder, a pharmacy tech. I mean, there's just like that, automotive mechanics, just
Cosmetology,
amazing.
right?
Cosmetology, plumbing, electrical, construction, carpentry, AC, HVAC, you can get certified. So it's a really hands-on program. You go to school from 8 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon. You clock in, you clock out. It's a clock-oriented program, so that by the time you're done, you've put in all your hours and you are hired so quickly. These jobs, kids get jobs very quickly with these certifications.
So tonight, as we go through different programs and we talk about just sort of little chunks of knowledge that we all have, we're concentrating on the application process. So, and since we just touched on a technical school, what is their application process like? Is it like, if someone just heard, okay, I want to try that, what would they do next?
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen because this is going to get into the June. I've written this for juniors, and this is a document that I'm not sure the status of it, but you can all get a copy of it. We're going to mostly just focus on this very first set of bullet points. It actually is 4 pages long. I include a timeline. I include how to get onto the Naviance program, what to click on there, and then a big fat section on financial aid. So we're going to go to that if you want to, but I'm really going to talk more about going deep into what kinds of applications might you encounter when you start applying to college, and then, you know, where do you start? How do you fill them out? Really a lot of detail about that. We're going to get onto the Common App, but I'm going to show you the Coalition and the Common Black College app as well.
And keep in mind, if you're looking for this document, we actually just posted it in the chat. So it is literally everything we're going to talk about tonight. You can download it from the chat. Amy Marie is amazing at posting it everywhere. So she'll probably have it on every form of communication possible throughout Robinson High School. But it is right there for you in the chat right now.
So the reason I went straight to this document.
Ann, where are we starting?
Yeah, the question that you asked was, what kind of application does a technical college use? And so if you look at bullet point number two under direct to institution, it's one of those direct to institution applications. And I have an example, but it's what it sounds like. You get on the website for the college. Actually, okay, technical colleges only accept paper applications. They are actually part of the Hillsborough County Public Schools, even though they give certificates. So they don't have an online application. You actually need to go get an application, fill it out, and turn it in. So it is a direct to institution application, but it doesn't show up on their website.
Well, and see, that's great to know. I mean, because there are so many different ways and different nuances on how to apply to college. So we just learned something. I definitely didn't know that. I would have thought you just went straight to the site. So for technical schools, you do actually need to go to the school and get the application and apply in person. And many of us know, even if our children maybe won't be going to a technical college, there may be some of us out there who do know of some kids that could benefit from doing that and going to a technical college. So it's great to just pass information on, and you can't pass it on if you don't know. So
let me make a distinction. It just occurred to me as you were talking. So the technical colleges that I'm talking about are to get certificates. You don't get any associates or bachelor's degrees there. But maybe people are confused because there's something called the, Georgia Tech, Georgia Institute of Technology, or MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or Caltech, California Institute of Technology. So those are those are 4-year as well as doctoral level, institutions. I'm not talking, those aren't the technical colleges I'm talking about. So
We're
just to
talking
make
like
the
Irwin
distinction.
Tech.
I'm talking about Irwin Tech, Aparicio Levy, Leary, and Brewster. Those are the 4 that are in Hillsborough County. You can look up, everything I say you can Google. So look up, if you want to Google, you just say Hillsborough County Technical Colleges, and you'll get the websites for each one of them.
All right, Anne, so perfect intro for the technical schools. And now we're going to dive right into more of our traditional colleges. I love that fact that you have right there. There's 4,000 colleges and universities. And a lot of people get into a lot of the schools that they do apply to. So let's first touch on this word that I'm sure many of us are hearing, but just don't quite know exactly what to do. And that is the Common App. What is the Common App? And as a junior mom, there's actually things that I can do over the summer. My student can actually start to do things this summer with the Common App. And I'm saying that as a question and also in a state of shock.
Okay, I know. It's hard to imagine that your juniors are going to be applying. It used to be, historically, people thought, okay, you apply your senior year of college. That means near the end of the year of your senior year, you apply to college. But the way things have evolved in the last few decades, the very best time to apply and to get your applications in is in September and October, and November if necessary. Everybody who's on this Zoom tonight clearly is thinking ahead. I'm very impressed. We've got such a huge turnout of students and their parents, and I think everybody's trying to just get the information they need to get started. So it's so great that you're all here. So the Common App is accepted by over 900 colleges. When I first started in this, it was over 400 colleges. So it has grown in the last 8 or 9 years. It was designed so that students who wanted to apply to a variety of colleges would have everything on one platform. And it has really simplified the whole college application process. And I'll show you, I made a pretend account so we can go in and I can show you all the different aspects of the Common App. But your question, Michelle, was, is there anything that can be done with the Common App even before your student becomes a senior? And yes, a student can actually begin with a Common App right now, or mostly they get one at the beginning of the summer. It doesn't become their official Common App until it opens up. It's called opening up in August. But whatever information you put in remains. It doesn't get thrown out.
Are you able to go into your pretend account?
Yes. You want to see it?
Yeah, because I would really love to even just like, what do you go to? Commonapp.com? Like, where is it? How do you get to this Common App? How do you create your account? And do you have to, so if it opens up in August, if you put stuff in now, do you have to go in August and like click on something to make it stay, or it just kind of?
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to the very beginning and then I'm going to share my screen, but I'm not there yet. Okay.
And keep in mind, for those of you who just may be joining us again, Mr. Clay is going to be meeting us at 7 o'clock. He will, of course, be joining us to talk more about college and career counseling. And we right now are just kind of going into different things that we think parents may have questions about. Please sign your student's name into the chat and what grade they're in. And if you have any questions, anything specific that you want to address, feel free to pop off mute, turn your video camera on, put it in the chat. And we're going to make sure that we can address specific questions tonight, because the last thing we want to do is drone on and on about stuff nobody cares about. So we want to make sure if you have a question, please ask. Otherwise, I'm just going to ask all my questions, because as a junior mom, I need to know about this Common App thing, because it is for real and it is really happening to me right now.
And Amy Marie, I just want to make sure there's something. Oh, maybe that's the chat room. There's the number 7 on the bottom of my screen. I don't know if that's 7 people waiting to be let in, but I could be wrong. Okay. All right. So I went all the way to my browser so that you could see what I do to just Google Common App. And then here it is, commonapp.org. So apply to college with Common App. So I, here down here, where it says start your application is where you would click to start your new application, but I already did my account. And so I'm just gonna sign in as a first-year student. And I'm gonna sign in here.
And it only took you, I would imagine, just a couple minutes to create your account. You don't need to know all kind of information just to create
Oh,
your
no,
account.
no.
Just
No, I
basic
think
stuff.
it was just my name, I had to create a username and a password, that was all. Because every piece of information then ends up, you input it into your Common App. So it says, welcome Anne over here. And it gives me an ID number, not that I need it. And this is what comes up first is a dashboard. And then I'm going to go through each one of these, but I put in a bunch of different names of colleges that I thought might be ones that people were interested in. I chose Harvard just because that's one that a lot of people talk about. I chose Howard because it's the top historically Black college and university. And so we'll use that as one example. UCF, University of Chicago, University of Florida, University of South Florida, and University of Tampa.
And you
These
have
are
a good mixture of public, private, state, public, state, private for our state. Great.
Yeah.
You have my
Okay,
favorite.
and yeah, and I can't put like Hillsborough Community College is not in the Common App. It just isn't.
That's a good
Georgetown
thing
is
to
not.
address. So, okay, because you don't have all schools. A school has
Right.
to actually be participating in the Common App, but you do have like 900. Now, for the schools
But-
that you have selected, is your information only going to go to those schools? Like, do you have to go in and say, okay, send my info here? It doesn't automatically go to everything, right?
Well, there's some parts of it that every university is going to get, and that's the nice thing about the Common App is you don't have to keep submitting that information over and over. But there are lots of things that are just specific for each one of these universities. Now, this is something I just noticed. So when you go in and it's blank, and you just start adding colleges, you'll see how easy it is. The thing
We have
ahead.
a request, Ann, to show how to add a college. Can we just
Oh.
pick one and just add a college? Just
Yeah.
Sue, I'm gonna call you out because I saw you ask that question. Is there a particular school you want us to add? Just put it in
Okay.
the chat real quick. I don't know if she's typing it in there.
Okay, so what happens is when you get on the Common App, this is the page that comes up. It's called the dashboard. Then you can just click on this tab where it says My Colleges, and that's where you can add a college. So somebody give me a name of a college and I'll write it in. Put it in the chat.
Let's see if I see one.
Well, this is
WVU.
alphabetical, but there's going to be 917 colleges, so I'm not going to do it that way.
WVU. Let's see if WVU.
West Virginia.
Yep, there we go. WVU.
Let's see. No college is found. So maybe, am I doing something wrong? Maybe I need to capitalize.
It says West Virginia University.
Oh, there it is. Oops. West Virginia. Oh,
Yep, right
weird.
there.
Oh, you know what? West Virginia Tech may not be one that's listed that it takes the Common App. So
Yep.
should we do West Virginia University? Just for
Yeah,
fun?
let's try that one.
Okay, and then so it shows up and it tells me some basic information. It's an optional personal essay. It tells me what is required, what the application fee is. Standardized test policy. I know you all are aware that most colleges have waived the requirement to submit an SAT or ACT. And so on the Common App, they've updated that for all the colleges. So this is the terminology. If it's always required, that means it's like UF, FSU, USF, all of the Florida state universities are still requiring the SAT and ACT. Flexible is if it's not required and you can use alternate exams. Sometimes required, never required is if it's test optional. Ignored means you can try to send your SAT score, but they truly will never set eyes on your SAT score. and ignored, they're not going to review it. Okay. Oh, I just said that wrong. But anyway, you can see that. Okay, so we're going to add West Virginia University.
So it was that easy? Just put the name in and then click add college.
Yep, so now we've got it down here under West Virginia University. Okay, one thing I did want to show you that I was so excited is on the dashboard, check this Excel spreadsheet out. This is so amazing. So every college that I had listed, they now have a grid and they tell you the deadlines all together. So if it's, we'll talk about this terminology later, but if it's early decision, which is a binding contract with the school, and you get it in to Howard University by November 1st, and they accept you, then you're in. Interestingly, they have the same deadline for early action. You just have to specify which one you want. We can talk about that another time. And then they have the regular decision, RD, is February 15th. And then they tell you how much it costs. And so how much it costs. So Common App, then question mark. So what does that mean, PE? It means that the personal essay is whether the college requires the personal essay. And then C and G says require that you self-report your course history. So this is an interesting one. So many details I'm not going to talk about, but you can just see there which colleges. So University of South Florida wants you to self-report your courses and your grades.
So what is the sometimes required for WVU? Says test
so WVU,
policy.
Sometimes required. So that means often what it means, we would have to go to the website for an explanation. And I don't want to, I mean, I suppose we could do that if you want me to, but it sometimes requires, often it means that if your GPA is 3.0 or below, they may require that you send in your SAT score. So it has to do with how they're going to balance. Well, let's see. I mean, I'm curious why.
And Melissa was wondering, she typed it in the chat.
Okay.
It was her school that she requested us to look at. But the best thing, if you do see information, that's what I love about looking at this Common App. It gives you where to go to find your answers as well. Okay, so let's see what it's saying. Test optional. So Melissa, I'm hoping that you can see where
it says here, select academic programs will require a test score, a math assessment, or a minimum GPA. So that's why it's sometimes required, because it's test optional.
Okay, and then if it is sometimes, is it on you? Because that's the other thing about the Common App. I don't want anyone to think that, you know, once you do your Common App, you're done. There are still going to be things that you need to follow up on and make sure that these things happen. So, you know, me personally, I would just always check and double check that I've done everything. The full question says that she was saying is, if you don't send them, will the school then ask for the results? So that's, you know, that's kind of on you, because you see that depending on what you're applying to, what particular major you're applying to, you're going to need to send your results. So my question, Ann, is the Common App going to tell you everything you need to do, or do you still clearly need to be a responsible student, have your student be responsible and double check and make sure that they have done what they're supposed to do? I couldn't see just relying on the Common App. I would double check.
I know you would, Michelle. The nice thing about the Common App, though, is that it does tell you what you're missing. And so I'm not going to be able to demonstrate that here, because obviously I have not actually filled out any application. And so but anything that has a green check mark next to it means that I've completed that section. So if there's things, and they do tell you, and Sherry, I don't know if you want to add to this, but they do tell you when you are missing things. But you have to, as the student, take the initiative to look and make sure that you're scanned through everything and that everything has a green check mark next to it.
And if you are missing something, then you have to figure out how to get it to them and in what correct way.
Yeah.
Okay, well, and as usual, the time flies. It's 7:07.
My goodness.
Amy
Do we
Marie,
wanna
do
do a
you
drawing?
see? Well, yeah, we should probably stop and do a drawing, and then we should also see, Amy Marie, is Mr. Clay ready? I can't quite see all of the participants. I don't know if he's,
Oh, I see
there he
Mr.
is.
Clay.
I'm here.
Hey,
Hi, Mr. Clay.
you're
Hey,
coming
everyone.
to us from out of this world.
Absolutely. The information that you all are giving is out of this world. So
So,
trying to match you, I'm trying to match you all's energy and
Thanks.
information.
Sherry, do
no,
you want to do a drawing real quick? Uh-oh, she's on mute.
Okay, I'm ready. All right. I'm just pulling it out of a basket this time.
Perfect. And as she's pulling that, keep in mind, we put the cube information in the chat where we're going to be looking for volunteers. And, you know, I've loved working for the cube because it's really learning. I would love to say that I just wanted to volunteer to help people. I volunteer to help myself too, because I've learned a lot. Okay, who'd you pick, Sherry?
Okay, I got it right here. And the winner is, I apologize for butchering this name, Lalit Rahamaru.
Type it in the chat, Sherry, and then
I'm
that way
gonna have to
we'll
do
know.
that.
Okay, and then you'll be able to get it from,
Apologize.
you'll be able to get your gift from Mr. Clay, or if you're e-learning, we'll figure something else out. All right, Mr. Clay, we're gonna be quiet and turn it over to you.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you all for what you're doing tonight and what you've done since I stepped foot in there and beyond, and even before that, you know, just providing the school with this crucial support. I don't know if everyone that's on here, you know, knows or understand that the depth of knowledge that that we receive from the Cube. It's been a little challenging this year, you know, trying to do everything virtually, but you know, it's still not too late. You know, get a head start for next year. You know, these next 2 months are going to go by really quickly. So I would advise everyone, if you get the opportunity, to try to at least reach out, connect, you know, become a part of it if you have the opportunity to. We always need, you know, hands on deck. I mean, and the ladies here are astounding. I mean, just the way that they're always there. If they don't have the information, they'll get it within the first 2 minutes of you talking to them. So it's been a blessing. You know, I've never seen anything like it, and it is a well-oiled machine. You know, so I want to thank you all for what you all do and provide. From my perspective, you know, one of the things that I want us to be able to do is to be more clear in how we disperse information for next year. I think with the starting of the social media, the us having a social media presence along with Canvas, it's starting to move in the right direction. We need to probably find a way to kind of link the two and use more of the social media to get more information out here. And the reason I want to bring that up is I've been speaking with a lot of organizations, and there aren't a lot of scholarships that are being applied for, not as many as they're used to. So if scholarship information is what you're looking for, it's definitely out there. And I want us to be able to get that out there a little more, you know, as we get it. So we're going to definitely work towards that. But anything that we can do to help support you in the process, you know, please let us know. You know, our children are going through a difficult time right now. The world is we don't even know this world that we're in. We're just dealing with it day by day, and things change by the minute, and they've been pretty resilient. So, you know, I really appreciate all the students who are, you know, still giving it their all and being diligent in what they're doing and trying to pursue their goal of going away to school and, you know, going to a prestigious college or technical college or, you know, wherever it is that you decide to go. But if it's any way that we can help, you know, please let us know. We're definitely going to do our best to make sure that you get the information you need and in a timely manner.
Mr. Clay, I have a quick question in regards to transcripts, and Ann and I are going to kind of go through the process briefly through Naviance, but can you just explain, especially if we do have any seniors on here, what is the official Robinson High School process of getting your transcript sent to a school?
Okay, so when we talk about transcript, first of all, let me clarify this. A lot of times students are participating in different activities or scholarship processes and they're asking for a transcript. The schools can no longer give you a copy of your physical transcript. So that's the information that I want everyone to know. What they'll do is they'll give you the student summary, which has the information that the transcript has as well. But we aren't allowed to give physical copies of transcripts anymore. All right, and so I'm gonna pull up the information. As far as the transcript, there's a way to request it officially from the school. You can request it from the website. I'm trying to pull up the information now. Give me 1 second.
And see, this is great information to know, because not only can you do it through Naviance, but you can also do it through the way that Mr. Clay is about to show us.
Yeah,
So I guess there's a couple of different ways.
Well, through Naviance is the way that in which you need to request it. If you're a former student and you need your transcript, you can request it through the county website. But you have to request it. They're requesting that you do it through Naviance. Naviance is the primary way of receiving your transcript. And it's pretty simplistic once you go through it. My technology is not allowing me to be successful right now.
No problem. I think Ann is, I can see her looking, I can see her screen and her glasses. Ann, are you quickly rearranging your entire setup to go to?
I am. Hold on. I'm gonna find it, and it's going to be.
And that, that was.
It's on our website.
There we go. All right, so we're on Naviance.
Perfect.
I just got it in the chat.
Can everybody see it? Yeah. Okay. So I'm in it. So I get into the Naviance account that if I were a parent, this would be my child's Naviance account. I would go to where it says colleges, and then I would go colleges I'm applying to. Oops. Oh, I don't know if it's gonna let me. Let's see. It's been 18 minutes that it's been sitting there without me paying attention to it. So hold on.
Oh, you got to log back in.
Yeah.
Well, as Ann logs in, I want to take this time to say, if you don't know what Naviance is and you're a junior, you need to tell your student tonight that tomorrow they need to get their login information from Mr. Clay, because as you're going to see tonight, it is the only way that you're going to be able to send your official transcripts. So I thought Mr. Clay had a different way that we could do it. I thought there were a couple of ways, but apparently there's not. There's only one way.
No,
so if you don't have your account, then you've got to make sure you get that log-on information.
Okay, so you log in. This is what comes up on the front page. Click on colleges and go down to colleges I'm applying to. And then see over here, unless all these things are covering it, which I'll go this. Then you're gonna see where it says request transcripts. So I'm gonna scoot this over here. And then I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna click on, I want to request transcripts for Harvard and for HCC. Okay, so then I'm gonna click on request transcripts, and it's gonna say, what type of transcript am I requesting? And so if I'm just submitting my application to HCC and to Harvard, I'm going to ask for initial because I'm at the very beginning of applying. Later, they may ask for a mid-year update or mid-year transcript, and that's when you would say mid-year. And then after you get in and say, yes, I'm coming, then the student would go back in and say, send the final transcript. And then to Harvard and to Hillsborough Community College, and then I would click request and finish. Then Mr. Clay would get a message, or my school counselor probably would get the message to have that transcript electronically sent. Is that correct, Mr. Clay?
That is correct.
Okay. So quick question, if you, let's say you go in and you push initial, but then it's the end of the year, do you all automatically go ahead and send the final transcript, or do kids need to go back in and click final?
They need to go back in and click final. Whatever you click is what you're going to receive, because some people register or send their information in later than others. So you may have a person who is applying to a college late and need their initial transcript.
Okay. So when I go in and I'm trying to get in early action, and so I'm going to be going into Naviance in like August or September, what do I push? Because don't they need the final, or do I push? Can I push 2?
Final is after you graduate. So final is completely not what you would ever want.
So at the beginning of the school year, when you're applying, you just click initial.
If you click initial, it will include all the information up into where you are right now.
Okay. And then once you've applied to the school and you've turned in everything that you're supposed to turn in, then that's all you need to do. Right?
Well, once you send, they'll.
I was just going to say, when you accept with them and you're going to go to that school, then that's when you have to send your final transcript.
Oh,
absolutely.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut anybody off.
No.
No, that's, thank you.
I was confused. I'm like, I know they need your final transcript. Okay, so you push initial, you apply to your schools, you get in, and then whatever school you're going to go to, then you go back in and you click the final button, and then that's when Robinson will send your final transcript to make sure you didn't just completely goof off after you got into the school. Got it. All right. Sorry for that Michelle moment there.
So you have to think about it like this. Whenever you're applying to the school, you want to give them the initial. That's your freshman through junior year, pretty much. And anything that you may have done over the summer. Mid-year is just that. It's what you've done for that first quarter. So it's like, okay, is this student maintaining what they presented to us in the beginning? The final, just that. Everything wrapped up, final rank, everything that's pertinent for that account to be closed and for them to be accepted into that school.
I see a question about the SAT scores being sent from Naviance, and this is a really good question because these are unofficial. That's a really important word, unofficial SAT scores. So it says, what is the difference between doing it this way through the College Board? Also, are the scores automatically super scored?
Mr. Clay, do you want to handle it?
Well, I'll go ahead and start, and you can go ahead and finish me off, man. Anytime you're sending your standardized testing transcript, send them from the site. You send them from College Board if it's the SAT. You send them from from ACT. You send it directly from the site in which they come from. Everything else is obsolete. Just send it directly from there. Sometimes if it's a little more cost effective if you kind of plan ahead, and if you know what schools you want to send those scores to prior to testing, you can list quite a few schools, and it'll be sent for free. Anything after that, after the test has been taken, you're gonna get a charge for. So you want to keep that in mind.
And this can kind of to ask a little bit more to all the answers in. What if you have a bad score? should you send, because in order to do it free, you have to pick them first, but you don't know what you're going to get. So is it okay? Because the second part of Ms. Finn's question too, or Andrew's question is, are the scores automatically super scored? So like, what's the best way for these scoring things? What should you do?
Okay, so it is a strategy. The bigger the school, the less they care how many times you take it, and they will automatically super score. You never super score. All you do is you send your scores the way they are straight from the agency, ACT or SAT. So you would never super score. But what you would feel comfortable doing is sending, you take the SAT 4 or 5 times, you're going to assume that all the colleges are going to super score, figure out your highest in each one of the categories, and then put it together and make your super score. So I wouldn't worry about taking it a million times and allowing the college or university to super score. If you got a particularly really sad score and you're so embarrassed, then you can suppress your score. It costs money. You can go in and do that online. But there's really not a lot of benefit to that because they're going to super score anyway. You'll see, it used to be that ACT barely anybody ever super scored. but that's gone now. ACT is also super scoring. The thing you got to remember about College Board for the SAT and ACT is they are in a dead heat. They are like fighting. They want market share. So they're trying their hardest to make things easier for students. The other thing that's new this year that I have not seen before is that a lot of colleges are saying that you can send an unofficial score. So you can write it in, and on Common App, it asks you what your scores are. You can just self-report those scores, and then it's on the honor system, because then they will ask you to send an official score from SAT or ACT in order to corroborate what you self-reported. And if it's discrepant, then they're going to kick you out. They're not going to accept you. So you have to be honest. But they're trying colleges are trying to bring the costs down. Every time you send a score from SAT or ACT, it costs money. It's $12, between $12 and $14 every time you send a test. So they're trying to save students money. But this is new this year. And then, of course, I guess just the big thing about SAT and ACT is that a majority of colleges that used to require SAT and ACT are now test optional. That's not true for the Florida State universities, but for most private schools and most selective schools, it's test optional now. And that's they're trying to save people money, but they also recognize that a lot of the students didn't get the opportunity during the pandemic to go take a test in person because of worries about being infected with the virus. So I think that that is true for the students who were applying the class of 2021, but also the class of 2022. I've gotten it from very, very good authority that it's very likely that most of the colleges that are test optional this year will also be next year.
And that just answered. We had a question in the chat saying, is the test optional a temporary thing? And Ann, that's what you were just saying, that it looks like it's this year and for the most part for a lot of schools next year as well. And then I would assume we just kind of have to watch and see.
Yeah, it's not, what I've just said is my opinion, but it's based on talking to people in places that know.
And again, though, it doesn't apply to any Florida schools.
No, it doesn't apply to any Florida schools. And that's unfortunate, but it's a reality. And then we don't know about the future because there's a lot of discussion and politics around SAT and ACT and equity and income inequity and that kind of thing. So it's a big open question what'll happen with the test, but they're not going away for the most part very soon.
We have one more quick question about do we receive a confirmation once our transcript has been submitted by the school counselor? Does it show up as a check mark in the Common App? So those are two. So one in Naviance, it'll say, yep, right there. All of those are of course pending because you haven't really sent them for real.
Right. So the transcripts are requested, or Harvard, we didn't request a transcript yet. Anyway, but when you go back into Naviance, you can see if it's been sent. And then also, and if you can flip back to your Common App, there's was it on the dashboard? I think you showed it to me before. Where was that? It might have been, let's see. So, no, I don't think so. I think it's on my college's, I'm not totally sure, but
there it is.
Right
there, right? Where it, well, it says questions. Oh, I'm not sure. That's just what all you have to do. I could have sworn we saw a spot the other day where it says if it might be here. No. I'm pretty sure it's there. I just don't know for sure. We can get an answer to that. I don't know. Do you know, Sherry?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm responding to somebody in the chat. So
the question is, if the student requested that their transcript gets sent by Mr. Clay and it goes through Naviance, and in Naviance it says, yes, it's been sent, where in the Common App can they confirm?
that it got sent.
Yeah, well, it would be in their portal.
Oh, right. It's not on Common App. Right.
Do you want to
Yeah,
explain the
explain. Go
portal?
ahead. Go ahead and explain the
Oh,
portal.
you can, because each school, once you apply to a school, you'll be directed to their school portal, and it will tell you the documents that have been that they've received and the documents that they're still waiting on.
Oh, okay. So through Common App, once you put all of your pretty much common information, you're then going to be assigned a specific portal per school. And that's how you keep track of what a school still needs and what a school has gotten from you.
Correct.
Actually, it's through the college itself. Right, Sherry?
Right, but right. When I say portal, I meant the you're then directed to the college's portal.
The college's portal.
You actually
Right.
apply, you pay the fee, and then you get an email to set up a portal. As from what you're linked to that school. That's yours, and they will tell you from that Common App, because you're kind of linking it to the Common App, what they have received, what the school needs to still, what they're missing.
Okay.
Okay, so let me go through step by step, just because there's Naviance, there's Common App, and then there's the university's portal, right? Okay, so what you're going to start with is Common App. That's your number one thing. You're going to get on here. You're going to add colleges. You're going to set up your 10, average, just to let people know, average is between 4 and 8 colleges that people apply to. And you need to make sure you've got a range. Here we've got, I don't know what kind of student I am, but I've got a couple that are less selective, and then I've got some that are in the middle, and then I've got some that are crazy difficult to get into, extra selective. And so it's good to have a whole range. You shouldn't just have what's called reach schools, because you're going to have a very disappointing experience. You got to have backup schools. So you start with Common App, complete the whole application. So that would be all the questions that are under college information, and then all the questions that are under Common App. And in here includes the, could include, the writing, which is the essays, essay. And so when you get to the personal essay, it tells you which colleges require a personal essay and the colleges that don't require a personal essay. And so, so once you've completed your entire everything, and then you pay your money and you submit it, and then your college application is complete for Harvard, let's say. Then you get into your Naviance to request your transcript gets sent to Harvard. Okay, so you start with Common App, and then you go to Naviance, and also in Naviance you request your letters of recommendation, which we can go to, but I just want to go in order. So start with Common App, go to Naviance for those two things, transcripts and letters of recommendation. Then when your file is complete, the college will, and then if they require test scores, then you go to collegeboard.org and you request that your SAT scores be sent from the College Board. So by then you've got your application, you've got your transcripts, you've got your letters of recommendation, and then you've got your test scores sent from all these different agencies and different platforms. Then Harvard gets all of that together.
It's like a big puzzle.
Yeah, but it's very clear what you have to do. I mean, the two major platforms are Common App and Naviance. And then they tell you to do the other things.
You mentioned fees. How does that work? Do you pay Common App a fee and then you pay each school a fee, or how does the fee thing work?
Sherry, tell us how it works.
The fee is actually, there is no fee for the Common App. The fee is the application fee to the school. And if your child is on free and reduced lunch, they can get, I think it's up to 2 or maybe more. Dameon, Mr. Clay can clarify that, but they can get a fee waiver for the application.
It's 2 per waiver.
Oh, okay. Okay. But then, and that's only if you're on free and reduced lunch. Oh, you were just showing us the fees. I just saw that, and you just scrolled
Yeah.
down. Is that where you just
Yes,
showed the application
these are all
fees?
the fees right here.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So every school is different. Yep.
Every school is different. And basically it's at the very end when you're submitting, you're
Okay.
done with your Common App application and you're hitting, confirm and send, then it'll say, enter your credit card here. And your money will go straight into through the Common App to the school.
Oh, okay.
Okay, what other questions?
There's no common fee, just common app, but everybody still wants their perfect fee.
Can I make a, can I say something briefly?
So
Yes.
can we,
Michelle, Mr. Clay had a question.
I just want to put the message out there. If you are working through both Common App and Naviance, you have to make sure that you link the two accounts. If you do not link the two accounts, then you're not going to be able to proceed in the application process.
Okay, and I can, oh, go ahead.
well, that's exactly what I was going to say. We've got some burning questions about the difference between early decision and early action. So I'll let you decide, Ann. Do you want to talk about the differences between early decision and early action and then show how to link your Common App to your Naviance, or it's up to you, whichever way you want to do it?
Let me do the linking thing because I'm going to show you how to do it, but it does require a couple different steps. And so I don't want to make it too confusing. Just realize that the cube is there for you and we can talk you through it. And there,
Answered that in the chat.
Go ahead.
I just answered the early action, early decision and all that in the
Good.
chat.
Perfect.
Okay, good. All right. So I'm going to go, let's do Howard University. Okay. So when I click in my colleges section of the Common App on Howard University, what I get is these three sections. There's questions for Howard University, which are academic questions, all kinds of stuff. Then there's this recommenders and FERPA. So, oh darn, did I already? I think I had done it. Let's do
I
University.
think you
Chicago.
did it when we were looking at it yesterday. You might have done Howard's to show me.
Wait, I only did it for one college. Sherry, do you remember this? Is it because I did it for one college? Did it do it for all the colleges?
Yes. It should have done it for all of them.
Okay, I'm sorry, because I wanted to do it for everybody to see. Okay, I'm sorry. I only did it for one college. But anyway, when you get to this recommenders and FERPA section, that is, I've already clicked on, I give permission for to release all. I'm not going to look to see what my teachers wrote about me in my letters of recommendation. That's basically what FERPA is.
And it's just a checkbox. I mean, you're just basically clicking that box. So it's not anything.
Right there.
Yeah. Okay.
So once that is check marked, then, okay, that means, so I hope this works. I'm not sure. So now I'm back into Naviance if it lets me. So it says here, it looks like you're not currently able to apply. Oh, wait, let me just go back. This is what shows up when I get into Naviance. It's just the front page. So I'm going to go to colleges and I'm going to go to colleges I'm applying to. Okay, and that's where I get this page. Then it says here at the very top in bright red, it looks like you're not currently able to apply to Common App schools. Match your Common App account to Naviance account to get started. So the reason that's there is that I now need to click on match accounts. So I'm going to click on it. So now it gives me this little warning. Once you match account, your FERPA status cannot be changed and I cannot unmatch my account. That's fine. I'm going to close on that. So I'm going to do match accounts. And then close, and then why is it not matching? Anyway, that's where you have to do it. And it may not be matching because I'm not really a real person.
Well, and I mean, the main thing to understand is that as you're, okay, right there.
Yeah, there we go. College access resources.
But what I was going to say, the main thing to understand is to at least know that that is what you need to do. So we all have learned, if we don't take anything away from this tonight, other than you have to have a Naviance account in order to send your transcripts. That is a very important thing to know for all of my junior parents. And you have to, if you're going to be using the Common App, you have to link your Naviance account to your Common App. For my sophomore and my freshman parents, it is important for you to know as well. This is totally separate. I'm going off into College Board and Khan Academy, but it's another linking thing. Have your kids link their College Board account to their Khan Academy account, because that's how you get the free study resources. So I'm all on linking now, and I'm like, of all the things that need to be linked, those are it that I know of.
That's a big one. Yes. Yes. So I think that is so that your student can do all the online practice for the SAT that is customized to their strengths and weaknesses based on their PSAT performance. So that's what Michelle was just talking about. And that's really a wonderful service that College Board gives our students.
So like I figured there would be, there's still some questions. Can we just briefly discuss the advantages / disadvantages to early decision versus early action, and really making sure that people understand early decision is binding. So if you do early decision, you are supposed to go to that school. But Anne, like you said, though, there are advantages to doing that.
Yeah, so the major advantage is to the institution. So when they have an early decision program, and not all colleges do, the private colleges that are really trying to get a sense for who are they going to have in their class, they do early decision program because when students apply and they accept them, they know those students are obligated to attend. And when students apply, they also are applying for a financial aid package at the same time if they need financial aid. The negative for the student is even if they get accepted and they're given a financial aid package, if it's not adequate, they can then go back to the university and say, hey, since I submitted all my financial information, my dad has lost his job and we are, we're now living in our car or something. Then the school will say, okay, I will release you from that contract. But outside of something very dire like that, if you have done an early decision acceptance, you are obligated to attend. So
that's regardless of how much money they give you.
Yes, they are going to give you as much as they can, but it's your understanding and applying ED that you need to go if you get in.
Okay, and so what is early action then?
Early action is, I think, an advantage to both the institution and the student. Usually, it basically means you get your application in by either October 15th or November 1st, sometimes November 15th, December 15th. But early action basically means you get your application in, you get everything completed. And if you get accepted, then you never have to fill out another application again. You can go. Or you can, it's like some kids will apply early action to Georgia Tech, and then they apply and they get in, and then they apply to a bunch of Ivy League schools because they know they have Georgia Tech in their back pocket. And then they don't get into any Ivy League schools, so they go to Georgia Tech and they're very happy. So it's just a way of having something in your pocket. You got in, but you're not obligated to go.
And so, I mean, the easiest way to look at this is you do one early decision school, just one. But then you can do as many early action schools as you want to, and regular enrollment and all of those types of things. But if you get into your early decision, that is where you're going. So if you get into
withdraw
early
your
decision,
applications everywhere else. Yep.
Yeah. So if you get into early decision and you get into all your early actions, you are supposed to go to your early decision. Now, the cynic in me says, or what will happen? But Anne, you said that there can be some serious consequences when we were talking yesterday.
Yeah, they have you sign a contract so you know exactly. It's not like you don't go to jail, but you do owe them something. I don't know what it is. I've never in my life known anybody who didn't follow through. So you just have to give it a lot of thought. The advantage to the student is that the rates of getting in early decision are sometimes triple the percentage. So I'm remembering when I looked it up a couple of years ago that Duke was 24% acceptance for early decision and only 8% acceptance for regular decision. So huge difference. So if you really had your heart set on Duke and you knew you could afford it, even if they didn't give you very much financial aid, you could do an early decision. And I know some people who did that.
Yeah, and I can certainly see that. That is great. If, like you said, if you know that's where you want to go and you know you can pay for it no matter what happens, then yeah, early decision sounds like the way to go. Other than that, early action is probably most beneficial. We had one question again, and
I
this
think
is
early,
sometimes you asked. You said you think early action what, Ann?
oh no, I was just going to say early action is a really wonderful thing. There's like no downside to early action. So I totally encourage students to do that.
Now we have a question that just says dual enrollment. I need more clarification on what you mean by dual enrollment. This is from Mrs. Fisher. Do you mean dual enrollment while you're in high school? I don't understand your question, which is why we haven't broached that subject yet. But if you could either come off mute and ask your question, or give us a little bit more information. But basically, dual enrollment is when you are taking your college courses in high school, and those credits should be able to roll over to the university as well. Other than that, I don't know what
Mrs.
to
Fisher
say.
actually took her little, she took her
Did she
mute
come
off.
off
There
mute?
she is.
Hi, there she is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi. Yes, I was talking about dual enrollment in high school because right now I have a daughter that's a sophomore, and she's thinking about dual enrollment for next year, but maybe even the summer if she can do that.
Yeah.
That is a Mr. Clay question, Mr. Clay. Because we can't,
Okay.
the cube cannot address dual enrollment questions.
Right. So with dual enrollment, first to understand that they have some very strict deadlines. So the deadline for individuals to apply for the summer is vastly approaching, and for the fall. So you have to meet those deadlines, and you have to apply strictly through HCC. All right. Once you go ahead and meet the requirements for HCC, then they'll go ahead and send that request to us, and the counselor will go ahead and create a schedule that's conducive with the dual enrollment of classes that you're trying to take. But understand everything goes through HCC first, and they have, like I said, some strict deadlines, and they have to be met. If not, then you have to wait until there's another opening for you to try to attend.
Okay, so could she start it being a sophomore this summer, or does she have to wait till fall?
No, she can start it this summer. Once she's done with her sophomore year, yes, she'll be able to start this summer.
So should she apply now for the summer?
If she has interest in it, I would, yes. At least, my philosophy is at least take one class, see how it goes. Get the weight of it, what you need to do, what you're going to be, not be required to do. So I don't think there's harm in taking, starting out with one class if you're going to go ahead and go in the summer, and then you can roll into the fall.
Okay, thank you. Do you have to re-enroll for the fall?
Say it again.
Do you have to re-enroll for the fall to do dual enrollment?
You have to re-enroll every semester, but you're not applying for if that makes sense. The first initial application process of giving them everything that they need and them ensuring that you have the GPA and the wherewithal to even be in dual enrollment, that's a one-time event.
Okay.
But every the semester that you decide you want to be involved in dual enrollment, you're gonna have to go and get your classes coordinated and everything. But that's a whole different process.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Clay, while we're on the subject of dual enrollment, there's a question about would FLVS or HCC summer classes be a better choice?
That's a kind of a blanket statement, and it really kind of depends on your situation. FLVS, I think is good for if you're trying to, let's say, increase your GPA. There's a particular class that you want to take now instead of taking later in the school year. It's more for the high school aspect as opposed to the college aspect. So if you're looking at the college aspect, gaining some college credits, getting some of those general education classes out of the way, dual enrollment is the way to go. And a lot of people ask, well, should I do AP? Should I do dual enrollment? It really depends on your situation and what you're trying to do. If you're an individual who is trying to go to medical school, want to be an engineer, the suggestion is going to be take your AP courses. So it kind of depends on the situation. So we kind of take it on a case-by-case basis. And so I really encourage you all to have the students speak with representatives from the CUBE or either their counselor, so that we can kind of get some direction in which they're going.
Mhm.
And that way, you know, we can create a path and let them know what's the best way to get there.
Perfect. And that just brought up another question for me in regards to the GPA, because when you start applying for scholarships, just the things that I'm looking at, they ask for your GPA. Well, our kids have 2 GPAs. So what is the difference? And I know that if you take dual enrollment or you take some FLVS stuff, you can get a much higher what is all that GPA madness, and what do you put on your applications of when they say, what is your GPA? Nobody wants to answer that question, do they? And Mr. Clay, anybody?
I'm gonna punt that one to Ms. Houston.
And isn't this just like a Florida thing? Aren't we like one of very few states where kids can get like a 9 point who knows what from basket weaving? I mean, what?
Yeah.
What
One
is
of
this
the downfalls of that is this. I was speaking with some of the Ivy Leagues, and they're doing this thing now where they're doing more of a holistic approach. And as far as acceptance is concerned, they're not just looking for the 9.0 GPAs. You know, they're looking for well-rounded individuals. So that question is kind of a catch-22, and so I don't want to steer anyone the wrong way with it.
Well, I have a couple thoughts. That's an excellent point, Mr. Clay. For the juniors that are looking to apply to selective colleges, they are 100% looking for a very well-rounded student, but also a student who, what they call pointy. So they want a student that has depth in at least 1 or 2 areas of their life, in addition to being well-rounded. They are also looking for students that show compassion and want to make their campus a better place, make the world a better place. They want kids, they're beginning. I was reading some articles recently that a lot of the deans of admissions are trying in this very difficult time. They want to know that the kids they're accepting care about other people. So selective colleges look, number one, at rigor of curriculum. So students that take the hardest courses that their schools offer, and that includes AP, IB, and just, honors classes. So selective colleges want kids taking hard classes, and they want a GPA in those academic difficult classes to be as high as possible. So it's rigor of curriculum and GPA in their college prep, rigorous classes. Then they are looking at the whole student. So they want to know about activities. They want to know range of activities, but also quality of activities. They want a student that seems to have kind of a direction that they're going. And they don't need to know a career, but they need to have something that they clearly have a passion for and have some expertise in. So letters of recommendation are very important. So choosing the teacher who writes your letters of recommendation is really important. Choosing a teacher who knows you well, who has seen you in the classroom and maybe in a club as well. And then the essay is very important also. Some schools don't require an essay, so that's not as important. And you might notice that I've lowered the ranking of the SAT and ACT in that whole list because so many schools are test optional now. However, the 12 state universities in Florida are all requiring tests. And so that's going to be for those colleges, it's probably their numbers are going to carry a lot more weight than, extracurriculars and things. They do want leadership, but a lot of the colleges don't actually even require essays, and the colleges in Florida also don't require letters of recommendation. So it's got to come through in your activities that you list on your Common App, and your grades, and your rigor of curriculum.
So
Sherry, you're
I
looking
am
at me.
assuming,
Okay, I just was noticing Sherry looked like questioning as I was talking.
Oh,
What
no.
else? What am I missing?
Oh, that's so funny. I didn't even know you could see me. Like I could just see you. But no, no, what you said was great. I was reading some of these comments and some of them were really, so you started to talk about the references, and that was a big one,
Yeah.
that they wanted to know how you go about selecting the references, which is through Naviance. And when you ask the teachers, somebody had asked a question about, oh, that's what I had that look on my face for. I was
Okay.
can letters be written by adults who supervise them in extracurriculars? And it depends on the school.
Yeah.
Because sometimes
Or the
the school
scholarship.
will actually ask for a reference of somebody who has seen the student in an activity or a club, and others will specifically say they want it from a teacher, and always from a counselor too. So that was the look I was giving. I was reading the.
Okay, that
Sorry
would
about
explain
that.
it.
Well, and Sherry, you just brought up a really good point too, because if the recommendation has to come from a counselor, there's like one of Mr. Clay, and then there's maybe what, 3 or 4 other counselors. So what advice can you give parents to tell their kids? I mean, the counselors need to know them by more than just name. I mean, that's hard. But I am assuming there needs to be some sort of, I don't know, social capital that your kids need to have with their counselors, as in go and introduce yourselves to them. Is that important?
Are you asking me?
Of you all. I mean, because it's like when I tell my son, you need to go and say hello, and then you get this look like, why? Can somebody give me an answer? Because I know.
No,
Can I just say one thing? That's actually a perfect question, because my son happens to be in the IB program, but of course there are traditional students too, but this is great because Mr. Clay is new on the traditional side and Mrs. Sprinkle is new on the IB side. So none of these kids and none of these counselors knew each other before this year. So I can speak about the IB side, maybe, and I'm sure that Mr. Clay could talk about it on the traditional side, but these students on the IB side had to fill out what they call a brag sheet, which is a very detailed, it's like a resume, but it's even more detailed. Like the questions that they ask you are they make you reflect. What did you like about your school? What classes did you enjoy? Why? It really makes you think. And that's what they give to the teachers and the counselors that are going to be writing the recommendations. I suggested that my son give them that brag sheet, which they actually had to upload into Naviance. That was one of their assignments that they had to do in June. And he also uploaded his resume, or your resume, on Naviance. And I had my son also send the teacher not only upload it, but give the teacher a hard copy, the ones that were going to be writing a reference for my child. So that's it from the IB side. I can't talk about it from the traditional side.
it's pretty much the same on the traditional side. I always try to encourage kids, even if you give the brag, I think the brag sheet is extremely helpful. It's detailed. And my recommendation would be to have your student begin the brag sheet prior to senior year, because they do a lot of activities or participate in a lot of different activities that they eventually end up forgetting about. You know, they don't even think that it's college worthy. And to have those things notated where you can have something to reference, helps you when it's time to put that final product together, especially if you're asking someone to write you a recommendation letter. They need to know, a little bit about you. And high school students are social with each other. They're just not that social with adults. So we just have to encourage them, hey, go in, let's have a little conversation. Let me know a little bit about yourself. What are some of your interests? And then that just gives the detail. Give the recommendation or reference letter that much more detail, because you want quality. You don't just want quantity. So And unfortunately, a lot of these situations, we have to do it in a form of quantity because, you know, we don't know the students that well. So it's good
So
if they
we go
drop
in
by
and
and
say hi,
say
and
hi.
that can help.
Did you see the game last night? Anything?
I know,
You know,
something, just you
something.
gotta introduce yourself. Okay, and I don't know how this happens every time we try to do anything. It is 7:55. I don't
Oh,
know.
we have to do another drawing.
Well, yeah, but we also got to still talk about in 5 minutes because there's another question which still is kind of my same question. Colleges prefer what? The state GPA or the district GPA?
Oh,
What
I never.
we put?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I, on the Common App, when you put in your GPA, it asks you, let me see if I can find it. It asks you, what is your GPA and what is the scale, right? Sherry, you remember this?
Oh, okay.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
And so, sorry, but in the Common App, you put in your GPA, you self-report your GPA. So let's say it's 3.4. And then it will say on a scale, on what scale? And you say on a 4.0 scale. So that's unweighted. And so it doesn't matter. They're going to go ahead and recalibrate. They're going to reconfigure with your transcript, they're going to come up with their own GPA. But for the Common App, they're going to just want it kind of as the first kind of, it's just the first look at the GPA, but in the end, your transcript's going to get completely torn
All of
apart
that.
and they're going to make their own GPA.
But for scholarship purposes, because some scholarships just want to say, what is your GPA? Like,
Yeah.
what should you put? The highest one you have, I'm assuming, or because some stuff, even though it's unweighted, some of your IB courses still count in an unweighted kind of way.
Yeah,
It's so confusing.
I know that when I work with students, if there's a choice, I have them put unweighted, and then they have to specify unweighted. But if it's a scholarship and it's a national scholarship and they're trying to make them so sound good, they might want to say 6.8, and then in parentheses, weighted, district GPA. So there's no right or wrong.
Got it.
For example, for Bright Futures scholarships, they figure out your GPA. And in fact, you can look it up. Mr. Clay has what your Bright Futures GPA is, but it's just your academic classes. And then they weight for honors, IB, AP.
So you mean none of the answers on your report card are your Bright Futures GPA? That's not your state or your district. It's
not.
recalculated.
It's actually very close to the state one, but I don't think it's exactly the state one.
Okay.
Because the state one, it eliminates all the electives, all the fluffy courses, and it's just your academics.
Right.
It's for, English, for math, whatever.
Got it. Okay, so real super quick. And I know you're in your Common App, but can you switch back into your Navient screen so that we can just quickly show where they can, well, I guess it was in your Common App too, but show where students can request letters of recommendations from their teachers, and then specifically in Navient, show where they can build their brag sheet / resume, just start to accumulate that information literally now, because your Naviance account is open to you as a freshman. It's just incumbent upon you to actually go and get your login.
Okay, can you see the Naviance page?
Yep.
And
Okay.
can I just add one thing? And I think it's important to have both, actually, the resume and your brag sheet. The resume is great when you're filling out the Common App. And Mr. Clay is right on, like, start that resume now so you don't forget what you were doing. But the brag sheet and the resume are two separate things. And in IB, you have to do the brag sheet.
Where do you get the brag sheet from?
You'll, Mrs. Sprinkle will, at the end, juniors will get it at the end of the year, or in June, she'll send an email. I'm not sure how she's going to do it. But
Okay.
The junior night, I'm sure she'll talk about it at junior night.
Got it. Okay. So as long as you have your resume stuff in there, then you can fill out
In
the
Naviance, yeah.
Okay.
So if you see what I just did, I went over to About Me. I clicked on About Me, and I go down to My Stuff. And then I go under My Stuff is Resume. Okay. So now I mean, I know Sherry is a pro at this. But this is where you add stuff. So let's see. So you're going to want to add a new volunteer service. So I'm going to say humane. Of course, I want to use proper grammar. And then whatever, I don't want to do that too much. And then they tell you a bunch of things and then you click on add and then it does it piece by piece.
Click on the plus.
Okay, click on the plus where?
The plus, the red circle.
Oh, over here. Okay. Up
Yep.
here.
Yep.
Okay.
There they all are.
Okay. This picture is getting in the way. Oh my gosh, look at that. Okay, can you see it? Objective, summary, work experience. Okay, so your objective.
You don't have to have it if you don't want to use it. You just don't fill it out.
But the good thing about it, even as just a freshman, just go in there and just start logging your volunteer things, whatever it is that you've done, any little accolade that you've gotten, a ribbon for whatever, all of Amy Marie's trash pickup days, put those in Naviance under your volunteer services. I mean, it is so important to start logging that information now, because then, you know, junior year, sometimes there's junior year scholarships that you can start to apply for, and you have everything in your resume and can just, you know, put it into the cut and paste or print it out or whatever it is you need to do for those different applications that you're doing. If you put the work in now, my freshman, sophomore comms.
Can I just mention something about this resume? When I first looked at it, I was like, oh my God, they want to know what year, how many hours per week, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. But this is the exact same thing they ask on the Common App. So better off put it in now and figure all that out so that when you go to put it into the Common App, it's already there.
Someone asked about Profferfish. I don't know. I'm not in that. IB students have to use ManageBack, so that might have to be a Mr. Clay question. I've never been inside of Profferfish.
What's the specific question about Profferfish?
Just wondering how to add volunteer.
What it is?
I think they were just, well, Deb, if you could let Mr. Clay know what your question is about Profferfish. Oh, we're pulling it up.
Yeah, so I mean, I just Googled it. So
it's pretty once you go in there and kind of play in it, it's really kind of self-explanatory. One thing that
Mr. Clay, it wasn't how to do Profferfish, but the way Sherry was and Ann were sharing on Naviance, you know, making that resume and writing all their volunteer work, that's also the same that's in Profferfish already. So is that literally they're having to rewrite, you know, and just like the IB students in ManageBack, are they having to rewrite all this volunteer stuff that is already documented somewhere into now Naviance as well?
Yes.
Yikes.
Yes. And the reason being is they're used for two totally different entities, but towards the same goal, if that makes sense. They're and Profferfish, that's strictly for calculating your hours for Bright Futures for the most part. So it's storing your hours. Does it have the information in there that you can go back and retract? They do. But you will have to, you know, it's a good idea to enter it for both. Just because you want to let the schools know exactly what it is that you're partaking in. Profferfish is only going to give pretty much a number saying, hey, you completed this many hours. It's not really going into detail. It will make more sense to link the two, but they haven't gotten there yet.
So basically, all students really need to be managing like 4 accounts. They're the College Board, the Common App, their Naviance, and Profferfish when it comes to a Hillsborough County student.
Yes. And a lot of it is repetitive.
If you're an IB student, you would change, instead of Profferfish, you would be doing ManageBack.
Correct.
But remember that there's only 2 schools that use Naviance. So really, when you say 2 public schools in Hillsborough County that use Naviance. So,
okay. Didn't realize that. What's the other school?
Plant.
Plant.
Okay, I got one there too. All right, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go with this.
Well, and then every other private school in Hillsborough County uses Naviance. So it's
Yeah.
just public schools, it's just Plant and Robinson.
And my third one will probably go to a private school. So, you know.
There you
they'll
go.
just, you know,
So
they
you
want
might as well
to
get to know
make it
Naviance now.
happen.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, before we end, are there any more pressing questions? I think we've covered most things in the chat. I'd ask now if you have any last minute questions or last second questions to please come off mute and turn on your video camera if you'd like, but you have to at least come off mute to ask any more of your questions. And we didn't even get to scratch the surface on so many things. did
I
we?
know. Well, I'm just clicking through. I don't know if you can see it, but this is the Common Black College app, which you can apply to 60 member institutions, all for $20.
Mhm.
So
Now, I will note, because none of the ones that my son wants to go to are on here, even
Okay.
Xavier. So Hampton's not on here, Howard's not on here, Xavier's not on here. Tennessee State is on here. Is FAMU on here? And FAMU. So although this is the Common Black College app, there are several HBCUs that are not on this.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's, but the great thing about what you did say, Anne, which is really good information, you said that in order to do your Common Black College app, it's only $20 and it allows you to apply for 60 different schools. Did I hear that correctly?
60 different schools. They all have different applications, so you may not actually want to apply to 60 different schools because they're going to ask for separate things, you know, just like on the Common App, have separate essays and things. But it's $20. I mean, so you can apply to a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. That's really good. Bethune-Cookman is on here, so I was looking at that list. Bethune-Cookman is a Florida school that's on
In
here.
Daytona
Clark
Beach.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are several really, really good schools on here.
Yeah.
Paul Quinn, Morgan State, Norfolk State. My parents went to Norfolk State. I went to Hampton, but that's not on here. But that's a really good thing, that if you are looking at applying to HBCUs and you do only want to spend one application fee, here's a way to apply to 60 schools for $20. And I want to take this time now to also say HBCUs, although of course are called historically Black colleges and universities, they still take everyone. So I don't want there to be a thing where you have to be Black to go to these schools. No, anyone can go to these schools. They cater more towards Black students, meaning they're going to hopefully have more African-American professors. Their curriculum is going to have African-American studies. The parties are going to have hip hop and fun music. Not that there's anything against anyone's music, and a lot of people like hip hop right about now, but it's just it's a environment. I went to a HBCU. It's an environment where, as a Black student, you are the majority. And so you're really allowed, you're seen, you're able to be in a space where you're not the only one, where probably if we were to turn on our videos right now, I'm probably, Mr. Clay, between the two of us, we're probably the only two Black people on this call right now. So imagine that being your whole life. So HBCUs give you an opportunity where, instead of it being, you know, where you're the only one, it's reversed. So I say all that to say everyone is welcome at HBCUs, but that is the reason why they exist. They originally existed because of segregation, and those are the only schools that Black people could go to, but they still have a place in society because kids want to have a place where they can go where they are the majority at one point in their life. So I hope that's a decent explanation.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then the only other application we didn't talk about is the coalition application. For the most part, any college that takes the coalition, there's 150 of them, They almost all either have another way that you can apply, either through Common App or through an institutional app. So it was a wonderful idea, but I don't think a lot of, I don't know if they're growing. I think they've kind of stopped growing.
Probably because Common App has
Yeah,
kind
Common
of
App
taken
keeps
over.
growing. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, any other questions? There's so many more things. We were going to also go deep dive into essays, but we are not going to do that because I am hungry.
Yeah, and I told you, essays is going to have to be its own separate.
Okay.
And I almost feel like for essays, I almost feel like we should have parents or students literally like submit their specific questions.
Or what would be great, maybe a workshop when we can meet in person.
Yeah.
Where
Oh, that's true too.
work on it.
Should be coming soon.
Sue had a great suggestion is to host this next September for seniors who are in the serious mode about filling out the Common App. So definitely, I think this whole situation with the Zoom and the virtual programming has definitely opened some doors and some different ideas as how we can help support our students and our parents, even moving forward.
And can I just mention one thing? And Mr. Clay, he's still, I can't see who's attending, and I think he's still here.
Yep, he's still here.
No, I'm still here.
Oh, good. I don't know if you wanted to mention anything about junior night that the Student Services Department puts on, but that is where they'll also learn about the college application process and be shown Naviance and how to request the recommendations through Naviance. And I put it in the chat, but as a CUE volunteer, we're also happy to virtually meet with your student and pull up Naviance and show them how to do that. But take it away, Mr. Clay.
Well, thank you. Well, this will be my first junior night, so I'm still, I'm learning it as everyone else is. But it definitely will be a slew of information that will be provided and get you and your student ready for the upcoming school year. Provided you be given the booklet, which is important. I found it an extremely helpful resource for me this year, and just explaining information. And it's an opportunity for you to get the information, but I would definitely follow up with it with an appointment to speak with the ladies of the CUE just to get some of your specific questions answered. But it will definitely open up your eyes to a few things and let you know what you need to prepare for the upcoming school year.
And that's April 6th.
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 Right, Sherry?
I think
April
it's
6th.
at 6. I think, did they decide on a time yet, Mr. Clay?
We're still floating 6 and 6:30. I mean, it's not a big difference, but it hasn't been. We'll know soon.
But the date is April 6th.
Yes.
And
Right,
the free SAT for juniors is April 13th.
Ooh, nice.
I don't.
It is.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So.
And we're working on
Alrighty then.
a manage back session with we're gonna have some students who use manage back come on and talk about it. So whether we're gonna do that this year or at the beginning of next year, we have not decided yet, but everybody got quarantined, so we had to cancel that, but we're working on that. But if you have ideas or things you want us to do little information sessions on, shoot Sherry a message, shoot Mr. Clay a message. Our Zoom at noon is tomorrow, Mr. Clay.
It is.
And
What's the topic tomorrow?
We talking all things AP tomorrow.
I did not know that. So Michelle, are you working during the Zoom? I think we might have to.
I think I'm plugged into, I think I have a student. Do I have a student?
The last one I've seen, I thought it was later, but
you're good.
If so, we'll rearrange it. We'll go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to get out the initial information regarding AP that's been given to us. The county is extremely behind this year because they were trying to figure out what it is that what protocol we needed to follow in regards to distancing and things of that magnitude. So things are coming out later than it should, than it typically has in the past. So kind of working up against the clock, getting everything together. But there's just some initial information that I feel is extremely important and that parents need to know about what options they have and what they can do, what they can't do, because it's not going to be set up like it was last year.
Okay,
so,
and that's for AP testing. Okay, so
that's
that's
for AP
Zoom at
testing.
noon tomorrow at
Yeah.
noon. Okay, well, Ann, it's a couple of things that we didn't get to cover, but that I just want to throw out that maybe we can consider either for a Zoom at noon or another one of these. Your social media presence, what does that play in the application process? And the importance of communicating with the colleges, because I know that I've heard that, if you go to a college admissions session and talk to a counselor, or if you go to one of their college booth fairs, like all that stuff adds up and counts. So at some point, I'm hoping we can address those two subjects.
Well, let me address, they're pretty quick. So the second thing you talked about is called demonstrated interest. And some colleges, so it's got a term, it's called demonstrated interest. So the more demonstrated interest the student shows for the college, not the parent, the student.
I know. That's the hard part.
And some colleges actually know how many times you're on their website, and they know where you go on their website because they care. They want to know that basically they don't want to extend an offer of admission to you if you're going to turn them down. So if you've never visited and you've never talked to an admissions person there and you've never visited their website and you apply, they are now, technology is such that they know if you are just doing it because it's free or because whatever. So but this only applies to certain colleges. I can tell you how you can find out, but it's really complicated. So if you want to know, I can tell you which colleges care about demonstrated interest. But the big selective colleges don't care about. That's not 100% true. Michigan cares, but like UCLA could care less. Any of the ones that are some of it is really obvious. Like all the Ivy Leagues do not care about demonstrated interest. They may care if you're an alum, if you're a child of an alum, but they're not going to track whether you show interest in them because they have too many people applying already. But it's the smaller schools that are really trying to decide, how likely is it that you would be coming? So that's the reason. So if you really are interested, so I've worked with, pro bono with a bunch of kids, and this, calling the admissions office and asking good questions, meaningful questions, they take note of that. And so I totally encourage kids to show interest in the colleges. What was the first one? I think I could probably answer.
How your social media presence can play a role in your application process.
That is a very hard.
Sabotaging your applications.
Yeah. I would say just on the side of being conservative, it's important to clean it up. If there's a way to erase things that might show, obviously you don't want to show discriminatory behavior. You've got to be very sensitive to what you imagine these admissions people might be looking for. It's unlikely in the more selective colleges that they're going to go to that length. They don't have time. They're so slammed. But again, in those more, middle range ones where they're really looking and they want to make sure it's a good fit and they don't want to get, they don't want to be embarrassed, they might check social media. So yeah, that's a tough one because sometimes kids have years of a track record that they're going to have to clean up, but it's not a bad idea if they're really trying. Maybe they went through a really tough phase. They may need to add a lot of really good stuff on there, showing them, getting awards and, doing a lot of community service in order to make up for the old stuff, just in case. Wow. So I don't have a definitive answer. I think some colleges do check and most colleges don't, but you just.
Can I add something? Can I piggyback on what you're saying, Ann?
Sure. Yep.
I went to a workshop about 2 years ago at Duke. No, it was 3 years ago at Duke. And they were just speaking with counselors about different things that they look for in the admission process. And they brought up this very subject. One of the things that they said, it's not necessarily us going to look for that information. They said what most people don't realize is that someone they know that may not like them, or may, they're the ones that end up catching that information and sending it to us. So they're like, we don't have to go fishing for it. Someone ends up sending it to us anyway. So they said to avoid it, just clean up your social media presence, because it can be used against you. Sometimes you just don't know who don't want to have the best interest for you. So you want to do
competition too. Wow.
Exactly. So, and that's a lot of, he explained it's a lot of parent on parent interaction, that promotes that.
Wow.
That's scary.
So you have to be careful.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to end on such a somber note.
No, we have this.
And I have a good question. I want everyone to know you don't have to know your major in order to apply for college. So how about that for a good ending, a good note, good happy note? And that's correct, Ann, right?
That is correct. Yep.
All right, Sherry, who's our winner?
Okay, here we go. And the winner is, I can pronounce this, Molly Keith.
Oh, yay, Sarah. I'll bring you a cup tomorrow at Carline. Sarah's younger child goes to Roland Park with me.
Well, that's perfect. And then Mr. Clay will have the gift card for Molly, and she could go. As long as she's in school, she can go up to Mr. Clay's office and get the Starbucks gift card.
Absolutely.
All righty. Well, thank you all so much. I hope it was fun for everyone. We're just, like I said, volunteers trying to figure it all out with you. And we're blessed enough to have Mr. Clay, who is a professional and can help us out with all of these different questions. And thank you again to Amy Marie, president of the PTSA, for putting all this together for us.
Thank you, guys. This is awesome. I appreciate each and every one of you.
All righty. Bye-bye.
All right. Good night.